Oh, thank you. Good morning. It's 8:30 a.m. It's January 20th, and I'm calling our Board of Commissioners work study meeting together. So first off, we have agenda review. So everyone's okay with the agenda? All good? All right, let's move on. Chairperson comments. So not a lot of comments. I hope everyone enjoyed the Martin Luther King holiday. I know several of us were at the fairgrounds yesterday. It was a really great ceremony. And just a reminder of that good day of service as well. So, and I was grateful for the fast ferry that was running on Martin Luther King Day because my son came over from Seattle. So. All right, let's move on to our full discussion and action items. 4A, resolution number 26-06, approval of the ILA with Port of Bremerton construction of the Port Orchard Marina breakwater.
Forgot the microphone. Thank you, Madam Chair. This resolution gives us authority to go ahead and sign the interlocal agreement with the Port of Bremerton. We've been working with the port over the replacement of the breakwater for quite a while. In essence, we thought we could take advantage of this opportunity since occasionally the boaters inside of the marina are affected by the wake of our passenger boat coming in and out of Port Orchard. So in the design phase of the new breakwater, we asked if they could look at any modifications to the breakwater that could help mitigate some of those wake issues, which they did. And also the fact that we oftentimes need an area to tie up vessels to store. We don't have enough dock space on our own to tie up all of the boats. For example, the Bremerton route has 3 vessels, 2 in operation and 1 spare, and we generally will have the spare tied up at the Port Orchard breakwater. So in the design work, as they've also included an opportunity that if we ever get into electric ferries, that there will be an opportunity to be able to recharge the ferries on the new breakwater. So in exchange of all of that, we've agreed that we would, one, cover the cost of the design work to mitigate the wake and the additional costs that they would incur to do that, as well as we're also working on a long-term lease agreement to be able to moor our vessels there. So in essence, this ILA will cover our contribution towards that project. It's about $973,000 worth of effort, both in the design as well as providing us the moorage facility for up to 2 vessels for an extended period of time. I think it goes for like 25 years, if I remember correctly. So anyway, the agreement also, the ILA also includes a provision that if for some reason the port does not move forward with the project, they're obligated to pay us back for the funding that we paid them. So anyway, we're asking for permission to go ahead and sign the ILA with the Port of Bremerton.
Thank you. Any questions for John?
The chair move to adopt resolution number 26-06. The Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes Kitsap Transit staff to enter into an interlocal agreement with the Port of Bremerton to provide funding in the amount of $973,441 for the construction of the Port Orchard Marina breakwater replacement project and moorage.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Just have a quick question, John. What is the source of the funding? When you said that they would return it, would there be any possibility of loss of funds? If I didn't know if any were coming from grants or.
No, this would be paid for with our local dollars. So, we would anticipate or expect them to pay it back if for some reason they don't start that project in 6 years. But I really am hoping that they are able to do that to move forward, because the breakwater is in tough shape
Right.
over there to begin with. And again, I'm looking at from the standpoint of trying to mitigate any impact of our bus or boats coming and going from that orchard dock.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
Thank you.
And it looks like then we also in exchange get the 25 years of mooring too. So.
Yes.
Good. Right. Anyone else? Okay, it's been moved and seconded to adopt resolution number 2606, the interlocal agreement with the Port of Bremerton for the construction of the Port Orchard Marina Breakwater Replacement Project and Moorage. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed? All right, that passes. Thank you. All right. Yes.
I don't mean to be obnoxious. There's a typo or Scribner error on the signature page of that. It's not a big deal. That transit. I don't know. I don't think it legally matters. Let's see, page 10. Page 10. Oh, sorry, page 10 of our packet.
Of the exhibit A? Oh, the next resolution.
Kind of the agreement. Page 10 of our packet.
Looking for that. Is that on the next, so it's with the next resolution? All right, when we make this motion, let's make sure we change that then. All right, so we're on to resolution number 2607, approve CO 3-KT-25-2986, Bremerton Dock. And it says Rev, and I can't read what it's. Repiping.
Yeah, this is a
Kind of-
project that we've been working on for a little while, and it's essentially replacing the piping that goes out to the vessels here in Bremerton that we use for pumping off the wastewater off of the boats, as well as providing fresh water to be able to load onto the boats. And that's been out there for quite a while. It needed to be replaced. So we let a contract for a company to come in and do that replacement. They found a couple things as they were moving forward with it, but most recently they found where they were going to connect their new piping to the old piping, that the old piping was in worse shape than we anticipated. So they're needing to do some additional work to replace some of that old piping and improve the connection. So it's essentially approving a change order 3, which is for $23,900. And the reason that I'm coming back is because between change order 1, 2, and now 3, the total of those 3 exceed my 10% authority for approving change orders. So that's why we're bringing this back to the board for your approval.
Right. Questions for John? Yes.
Good morning, John.
Good morning.
So where does the sewage, it exits the boat through the pipe and where does it go?
Into the city system.
Into the city system. So is this, is the piping that's going to be replaced all the way to the city system? I'm
Uh,
asking because I want to know if we have unanticipated repairs on our end.
I don't believe so. I think it's just more of the connection between the to be upgraded, and the pipe is corroded. So I don't think it's going to have any impact on the city's side of the.
Okay, if it turns out that for once you are incorrect, to whom should I speak? To you?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. John, you just understand this is the third change order for this?
Correct.
Is it because of the increase overages of repair? Right, I didn't understand that.
Well, they've discovered in the project so far that there were other things that needed to be done outside of the scope of the original project. Some of the plumbing was actually under the water, which was causing some additional things that we were unexpected. So change order 1 and 2 was to cover those sorts of things.
Okay,
Come to change order 3, that the cumulative total of the 3 change orders exceeds my 10%. That's why I'm bringing it here.
okay, so it's not the same problem.
No,
Okay,
no, it's just
good.
another component of the project that was unexpected.
Just want to clarify. Thank you.
Question, John. So it's in the budget. Is this in the capital budget add amount, or are we adding extra to cover this project?
It's in the capital budget, so we
At
we
this
have,
amount?
we budget, we're making estimates into what we think we'll need, so we've got it covered.
Terrific. And I'm glad you spelled out independent cost estimate,
Mhm.
because that acronym doesn't really work these days. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any Any other questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, I move to adopt resolution 26 TAC 07, authorizing staff to approve contract Kitsap Transit 25 TAC 986, change order 3 in the amount of $23,979 for the additional materials required.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All right, let's vote. All in favor of the resolution number 26-07 for change order 3, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes. Thank you. All right, now on to resolution number 2608, to approve the excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Approve anti-overhaul parts purchase.
Yes, this is actually bringing back the award of the contract to the board for approval. We went out to bid for the parts necessary to do the overhaul of the engines. As expected, there's only one vendor that can provide the parts, so this is more or less a sole source purchase with Pacific Power Group is the company that is the distributor for the parts for the MTU engines. So the total amount of the parts is $577,594, which certainly exceeds my authority. So we're back to ask for permission to award the contract.
Questions for John?
Which run is the Enitai on?
The Enitai, well, it kind of waffles between the Southworth or the Kingston, one of those two routes.
I have a question with this purchase. Are we getting some to keep in stock as well, or is this a single purchase?
No, pretty much this is going to be what's necessary to rebuild the engines.
the
So
one
it's only
time.
the internal components that need to be replaced.
Are we doing that rebuild ourselves?
No, this will go out more or less to Pacific Power to actually do the rebuild.
So since we don't want to be doing sole source, if we can possibly avoid it, is there any workaround for this in future? I get it that right now boat back on route is the goal, but is there anything we can do down the line?
Probably not, since they're the sole distributor for the OME parts. So, I mean, if we wanted to use aftermarket parts, I suppose, but that could have an effect on the warranty that comes with these parts. So I don't know that we really could.
So is there any replacement that will power a boat that
could-
is not sole source? I mean, would we have to like completely gut every boat we have in order to obtain competitive repairs and parts?
I'm not sure that I can answer that question. We could replace the engines with a different brand, but when you get into these size of engines, it's generally limited to their distributors, and they only have a few. It's not like buying a part for your Ford. It's pretty unique.
Okay. And this is just something that's endemic to the industry?
But yeah,
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So channeling my predecessor, past Mayor Becky Erickson, I have to ask the question, past this project, these boats run hot and heavy. That's the nature of the beast, right? So it's almost anticipatable that we're going to be rebuilding engines on a pretty regular schedule. So on a larger level, how do we stand for reserve for replacement? And we are aggressive enough to reserve against these anticipated costs?
Well, we are planning to have a discussion at the board level about a replacement program for the vessels. Currently, we do not have a reserve adequate to replace the vessels. This is more of ongoing maintenance. And yes, these boats do work hard and they do need occasionally to have these engines not replaced, but rebuilt. It's usually based on how many hours are on the engine, and we do it in anticipation of trying to get ahead of it so that we're proactive versus reactive when it breaks. And sometimes if the engine had a catastrophic failure, it could damage the block such that you'd have to buy the whole new thing, which would be even more expensive. One of those engines is roughly right around $1 million.
Go ahead.
How long will the boat be out of service? In other words, when we expect to come back into service?
We're kind of planning around a 3-month period that the vessel will be out and necessary to pull the engines out, get them rebuilt and get them put back in.
After FIFA.
Mhm.
I know whenever we talk about marine services or ferries, I'm the same as you, Ed. I always think of Becky and think ferries are expensive. I just have this voice in the back of my head. All right.
Well, I often tell folks when they come to me with, well, we've got a problem and here's how much it's going to be. And my stock answer is it's a boat
Yeah, right.
because they are expensive.
Expensive. All right, any other questions? All right, I need a motion.
Sorry, my computer is down again.
Move to adopt resolution number 26-08. The Board of Commissioners hereby approves staff to purchase parts from Pacific Power Group for the MV Aetna half-life engine overhaul in the amount of $577.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt resolution number 2608 to purchase parts for the Anatai half-life engine overhaul. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Right. Thank you. That passes.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda, Madam Chair, is the board asked to have a discussion over the 2026 goals. So we've attached the proposed list of goals as part of your packet. And you have the floor. This essentially the goals that have been presented are the goals that I've established after soliciting input from both the board level as well as the various directors levels. And this is kind of a culmination of that effort. So.
All right, well, let me read them and then we can review. And if there's any questions to John or staff, we can do that. Thank you for bringing these back. So in continuation of the goals from 2025 and in keeping with Kitsap Transit mission statement of providing safe, reliable, and efficient transportation choices that enhance the quality of life in Kitsap County, Kitsap Transit staff hereby present the agency goals for 2026. The first one is increase overall ridership by 10% compared to 2025 performance. Next, begin construction on Ruby Creek Park and Ride. Begin construction on electric local ferry. Complete certification of new APC system and provide detailed data summaries to board. Complete installation of inductive chargers at Wheaton Way Transit Center, North Viking Transit Center, and Bainbridge Transit Center. And then finally, develop a 5-year schedule for necessary maintenance of marine services, vessels, and facilities. Right, so any questions, comments on that? Yeah. Yes. Councilmember Mochler.
Thank you. So this is a good work plan, but none of these is a goal. I would argue. The ridership perhaps, but otherwise these are specific things that we intend to do. A goal, for example, would be restore Sunday service. And a work plan would be, okay, well, we've done this on a couple of routes. We're going to add 4 more routes in 2026. So I would suggest that this board consider what are our goals for 2026. These, I think, are From everything I know, these look like good logical goals for a work plan. But for a goal of what is Kitsap Transit trying to accomplish for our riders, for our potential ridership, I would argue that none of these does that.
Yeah, thank you. Well, comment on
You need a green.
the previous commissioner's statement. In my crusade against acronyms and jargon, what does APC mean?
I was going to jump in and volunteer the definition of APCs, but it's the Automated Passenger Counting System.
Thank you very much. And to your concern with Councilmember Mockler, I understand that I think these are good goals. Some of the things you might be mentioning are more like vision statements or something like that. I mean, I would put that in that kind of language. I think a goal is something that is tangible and might be achieved. So I'm not disagreeing that some of these ideas are good, but I think they fall more into the category of a vision statement rather than a tangible goal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. These might be heading toward 2027, in fact. One I already communicated to the director on behalf of my city council and public input, which is a more delineated program to address bus shelters. If we, for example, and it's logical, if we want to increase ridership by 10%, and with all due respect to this dry January, it's usually very wet and we have people standing around, and that ridership on the routes. And I remember going to APTA with John and Rob Gelder, and we looked at bus shelters to the extent of etched glass with motifs that suggested Kitsap County, and I just haven't seen much progress there. So that's number one, and that's on behalf of my city council and the input we've had at our podium. And then one that's specific to me, and this is, I think, 2027, I would like this board to entertain the question of creating a contract with a consultant to look at the question of viability of free routed bus service. This is something I first brought up 4 or 5 years ago. It may not be viable. I understand that. But it's a question worth asking in a more directed manner. Just for the record, Intercity in Olympia and Thurston County has been able to clear the hurdle on free routed bus service. And then our neighbors up in Clallam County have been able to do that. It may be that we cannot, but the idea of free routed bus service in the pandemic with the state's assistance, we got the young people on it free. And I think it would really behoove our county to look at that. But the question could be negative in the answer. I well understand that. But rather than an anecdotal or narrative discussion that pops up here at the board level, I think a more disciplined, focused approach to it. I don't know how much money that would cost. So I'm just putting that, not so much 26, I think it's a 27 budget item if the board were to entertain it, Madam Chair.
So I'm not sure if so John, correct me, are we looking at changing any of these goals or just the approval of the staff level here? What's our objective here?
It really is your call. If you want to change any of these, the only thing that I would ask is just keep in mind that if you set a goal that has a price tag associated with it, that we probably didn't budget for it. And if it does require additional funding, we'll have to come back to you with what that might look like.
I think that with all the comments are very apropos to this exercise. Madam Chair, I feel like we discussed having more of a retreat format meeting, and it seems like that maybe we should do that prior to doing our 2027 budget, and the retreat would kind of consolidate all of the goals that we've had over the last few years and really flesh out what a goals document would be. And then, Commissioner Stern could argue for his free bus study and we could discuss whether that's something we wanted to do in 2027.
Yeah.
For example, right, I don't know that we have the time or the capacity right now to wordsmith this. But I do want to say I agree with Commissioner Mockler that you can see the goal is increase ridership by 10%. So like Ruby Creek is one, making sure we have the right data with the APC, having a more structured system for improving shelters and locating bus stops would be one, right? Like you can, I think with a little bit more conversation, we could really flesh it out into a strategic plan list of goals. But for now, so having said that, so will we have can we plan on like a 4-hour meeting retreat style thing?
Sure.
On
Yeah.
that?
And I think we also talked about at that same time to reaffirm the mission, just take a look at it.
Yeah.
So I think we had talked about that. So I think when we start looking at maybe approve the 26 goals as staff has recommended, but then move forward for 27 and have some sort of retreat so we can discuss goals going forward and just, it sounds like we want to have that conversation.
And Madam Chair, I think we can amend this at any time if we need to throughout the year. So, but I think we need to have a baseline to start from, and I think the retreat is a great idea.
And I think what was mentioned, we may be missing the work plan that goes along with the goals. So if we could see what the goal is and then what the steps are. Was it Pepe, please?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I would agree that we move forward with these goals because these are measurable. And also look at it from a strategic standpoint. So you have a higher level and then a measurable goal. These, I think, are measurable and are for Kitsap Transit Direct. So then we would come in with the strategic goals like in 2027, as Mayor Stern has recommended. That would be a good discussion to have during the retreat. And I think that a nice way to tie this in would be tying it in with the transportation development plan, because I'm sure that that's where that's in, that we could see that. So that would be a good time for the retreat for all of us to get our ducks in a row. But I would move that that we adopt this resolution so we can move forward.
A second.
All right, discussion?
Has
Councilmember Mockler?
everyone contributed to the first round that wanted to? Okay. So, thank you, Madam Chair. I've been doing this now for almost 4 years. And it's been my experience that when people say, well, we can amend this down the line anytime we want to, can't we? That is true. And yet I have never seen it happen. The other thing is that if we are going to postpone looking at the larger goals of Kitsap Transit, I would suggest that we set a date for the retreat right now while all of us are here and have our calendars with us, because otherwise, you know what's going to happen? It'll just, it'll be too cold now, and then there's too much going on in the spring, and then summer's so hot. Things will keep getting in our way. I feel that this is why Kitsap Transit has a board, so that it can interpret what ridership and potential ridership want. That's our job, is to help Kitsap Transit serve the people of Kitsap County. And I think we'd be derelict in our duty if we didn't start looking at that in a big picture way, because nobody else is looking at it in a big picture way. This is something we should be doing as soon as possible. It's 9 o'clock. If we want to keep moving past this today, so be it. I just think this is something that we owe it to the people of Kitsap County to look at as soon as possible.
John?
My only comment about scheduling it right now is I think you should allow us some time to make sure we have a facility available. If we want a facilitator, we have a facilitator available. There's a lot of aspects, I think, that need to go into a good quality retreat other than just getting together and talking. So I would ask that my target would be that we do this in the spring, maybe late spring at the latest. which is about the right time for us, because again, if it's a budget impacted goal, then we have time to build the 2027 budget to reflect that. So that would be my only request, is allow us the time to put something together and bring back to you.
Can we put this as a follow-up item so that we come back at the next meeting with the proposed date?
Sure, that would be fine.
Mayor Patansu?
I concur with John. Let's do this. If we're gonna do this, let's do this right. Logically, for me, this date, our second. Tom, just hide it. I'm just hiding it. So, logically, this work study meeting that we have, adding a couple of hours to it, we already have this time held on our calendars. I think but I'll let John, whatever he needs to do to determine what other resources we need to put to this. And I'm comfortable with that timeline and move forward with this.
Right, Mayor Wheeler?
Yeah, and there we go. So I'm leaning towards what Mayor Patansu said, and just for the sake of productivity, I think we should have a discussion on what we would hope to achieve that's not being achieved here, and get the definitions for goals, goal making. Kitsap Transit has a goal for 2026 they're presenting to the board for approval. These are all things that we've either asked for or have approved in budgets. And we also have another avenue where we do more strategic policy level development, which is, I'm trying to think back to the documents where we have added in our higher level thoughts. Circulator, a Bremerton specific one's a circulator route for our city. We've had that discussion. And so when we're talking about revisiting, those are always options for the other plans that we've developed. So just for the, I'll wrap this up by saying I think we need something measurable for an outcome that we should have for a goal. We should be ready to ask what decisions are we expected to make on this. And so we know clearly. I think we're all doing these same things when we discuss what meetings we want to set up. We have to be very careful about doing it, or else your time just gets completely sucked away. I'll end by saying, I'm not convinced we need a retreat. So here's some more information and then talk about the work we've already done.
All right, so it sounds like we will come back with a recommendation from Director Clausen on a retreat or extended work study to discuss goals for 27, as well as kind of more of a strategic planning tie-in and work study. Okay. All right, so so right now we're looking at the resolution to adopt the 26 goals. So it's been moved and seconded to adopt resolution number 2603, adopting Kitsap Transit's 2026 goals. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
All right, with one nay, the motion passes. All right, thank you. Thank you for that discussion. To be continued.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is, I know we've talked about this before, but we're getting down for the World Cup event that's coming in June and July. So I wanted us to go over exactly what we're proposing to do, because we are trying to refine it down. As opposed to talking in the clouds, we're trying to get more specificity to what is being proposed, so that we're all on the same page on exactly what to plan for. So with that, Sanjay has been kind of leading the team World Cup and all of the planning and working with yeah. No, it's one I get frequently from Hilton. I'm sure you all get the same kind of things, but my apologies for not turning this off. Anyway, Sanjay, go ahead and turn it over to you, and you can walk through kind of where we're at and what we're talking about doing.
To turn the green.
Green. All the other ones in the world are red.
Yeah. Sanjay Bhatt, Marketing and Public Information Director. Thank you, John. And I just want to preface this by saying, like the game of soccer, this World Cup response has really been a team effort. So I'm sitting up here and telling you about what we're working on, but this has really been a collaborative effort with all of the directors. So let's see. So just at a 50,000 foot level, Kitsap Transit will operate special night service for the 2026 FIFA World Cup matches in Seattle and the fan zone in Bremerton. Today, we're going to kind of share with you kind of what our proposed service is going to be for those game days. We now have the dates. That was something we didn't have last time we presented to you. So we have the dates and times of the games. All of them are going to be on weekdays. And so I've just kind of put up here on this screen the game days and the time for kickoff. Now, one thing that's important to be aware of is that the security lines will open 3 hours before kickoff time. So for folks who are going over there to attend the games, we would expect some demand for our service, probably 3 to 4 hours before kickoff, because they're going to want to get over there and get in a very, very, very long, this is like the airport security line times 100. And then, after a game, the stadium will be open for basically 2 hours after a game ends, and a game's going to be about 100 minutes. So that just kind of gives you kind of an idea of the span of time that we're talking about where there could be demand for service. And if I'm, stop me at any point as I go through this, if anything is unclear. So in our discussion, what we're proposing as far as added service will be on game days is extending the span of service of the Route 212, which, basically serves all of the hotels in the Bremerton Silverdale area. And we'll have a map to show you that, as well as the Route 390, which goes between Polsbo and Bainbridge. We are also talking about the concept of a game day shuttle that would serve park and rides at Wheaton Way and McWilliams, basically to reduce the amount of car congestion in downtown Bremerton, particularly with all the people coming to the fan zone. We want to try to reduce gridlock in downtown by encouraging folks to park at the park and rides and board a shuttle coming in downtown as well as getting back. Ferry take-home buses in Bremerton, Port Orchard, and Bainbridge. And of course, extending service of the Bremerton Fast Ferry and the Port Orchard Foot Ferry.
What is take-home ferries? Sorry, Madam Chair.
So basically, those are buses that are waiting at the ferry terminal for the ferries that are coming in, and then when people will board the bus, and it's basically doing drop-off only. It's not picking up people.
So Orin doesn't get a set of keys to take the bus home.
You had a question as well?
I do. So the businesses in downtown Bremerton, which are eagerly looking forward to making money from the people who are attending FIFA, will be bypassed by these shuttles. Is that correct? In order to avoid gridlock in downtown Bremerton, people will not have any opportunity to be in downtown Bremerton if they take these shuttles. Is that correct?
Not really, because these shuttles aren't just a one-time trip. If a person comes back from an event and wants to go downtown and hang around, these buses are going to be running until midnight, so they would have a later opportunity to catch the bus to go to the park and ride, for example.
And isn't it taken from the park and ride to downtown Bremerton?
It's bringing them into
They're bringing
downtown.
them in
Downtown.
from
Yeah.
downtown Bremerton.
Yeah. Yep.
And
It's helping.
okay.
It's
So-
bringing people, it's people to your vendors.
They will be quite happy to hear that. Where is the stop in downtown Bremerton?
Yeah, I'm getting to some of this. So,
Very excited.
so here, this slide is designed to represent our night service in the Bremerton Silverdale corridor. So after our regular fixed route service ends, from 9:30 p.m. to midnight, we'll have Route 212. As you can see down there in the map, those little icons with the beds represent hotels. And so the Route 212, which departs the Bremerton Transportation Center, will basically deviate its route a little bit and serve the park and ride at Gateway, and then continue along Kitsap Way, serving hotels along Kitsap Way, make its way up to Silverdale, and deviate there as well to serve the hotels that are in Silverdale and connect at the Silverdale Transit Center. And it'll, so that's the 212. The game day shuttle is the other line you see on the map that will depart from Bremerton Transportation Center, serve the Wheaton Way Transit Center and the McWilliams Park and Ride, and it'll basically go back and forth. And then we'll have the ferry take-homes from the Bremerton Transportation Center. And the fan zone, which it's a little bit hard to see on this kind of scale map, but it is in downtown Bremerton there, next to basically Washington Ave and near Pacific. So that's going to be a pedestrian mall. So, it's to encourage people to mill around and enjoy the businesses in downtown, as well as watch the games on a giant Jumbotron screen. So
Just, may I have a follow-up? Thank you. I'm arguing for something I don't care a toss about personally. It's constituents who care about this, okay? So, am I to understand then that there's a stop at Quincy Square, Pacific and Washington?
I think it's important to
Because
remember,
Pacific and Washington are parallel, so I'm confused.
the thing to remember is this is in addition to our regular service. So our regular service would be operating, but when the service normally shuts down, this service would go in place and run until midnight. Now, there is a stop along Washington, and we'll have to work with the city to get the exact location, whether it's at Fourth. I don't know. I don't remember if it's exactly at Fourth. I think.
If we're working with the mayor, then I'm fine because the mayor is.
So we'll have to work for a variety of things. We'll be working with the city. You'll hear some more issues later, but
Okay.
just
I'm
to
all
stay in tune with what the city is planning to do. So.
we have a stop at Washington at 4th, and the fan zone, as I understand it, is along 4th between Pacific and Washington. So, and we are working with the Downtown Bremerton Association to make sure that we are aligning and not counterproductive to what they're planning.
Commissioner Rothfuss.
Before you move off of this slide, can you explain, it feels like there's not going to be enough parking at those two. Can you just describe, I'm looking at McWilliams Road. Can you explain, like, did you guys talk about using the mall parking lot and using the fairgrounds parking lot and having a different route that would pick people up at those places? Or is it too pointless? I'm just a little concerned.
Well, I guess I'll say one thing and then, John, feel free, but like there are some sort of budget limits to how much bus service we can add. And what we're trying to leverage here are the park and rides that are along the Route 212. We've got the Gateway Park and Ride. We've got the new West Bremerton Transit Center. And then the park and rides that are along Wheaton Way, such that folks who are coming in towards the fan zone don't necessarily have to come all the way in. That's kind of the intent.
And part of it too, I think Sanjay touched on it, within the budget constraints that we feel we're in. We've figured, for example, this park and ride shuttle, how many buses will it take to be able to go out, drop people off, turn around and get back in time for the next ferry around, versus putting on a second fleet of buses so that they could go even further, because we're trying to keep them within the ferry cycles.
Okay, it wasn't a criticism. I was looking for that.
So I'll move on to the next slide then. Okay, so just so you have a kind of a picture, this is the fan zone's boundaries. So it's going to be along 4th Street between Pacific and Washington. And there is a parking garage there also along Washington Ave. As far as the fast ferry extra sailings, what we're tentatively planning for is these extra sailings you see here. And in addition, Washington State Ferries has resumed 2-boat service on the Bremerton-Seattle route. I say these are tentative because my understanding is that we do have to kind of work with King County. We share that dock, and we need to make sure that we can secure those times that are on the schedule.
I think the other thing that's important to remember is we're dependent a lot on Washington State Ferries to capture the load. You know, their vessels can carry 1,000 people where our boats can carry 118. So we've got to put it in perspective and keep focused on Washington State Ferries as being a key component to this service.
Okay. Go for it. We're just gonna, I've been told that we need to share this and it hasn't been shared with our online audience, so we're taking care of that.
Will we also receive a copy of this, Sanjay? Can you send this to
Yeah,
all of us?
Sure.
Thank you. Oh, I don't.
No, it wasn't.
No.
Nope.
Right.
Well, there you go.
Councilmember Rosa Pepe.
Thank you, Chair. You know, just a reminder that with the exception of one game, all of our games are at noon. So it'll be the population will be coming back over a period of time. It's not like the game ends at 9 o'clock and we're trying to take this horde back across the sound. It'll be spread out, mixing with their other service. So I think this really looks like a nice, we're doing the right thing, making this available. So just wanted to point that out.
Okay, next slide then. So just kind of regionally in South Kitsap, nearly all of the hotels that we're aware of from the Visit Kitsap are served by fixed route buses during the day when we have regular service, and SK Ride serves outlying areas. And then, you know, from that night service from 9:30 to midnight, we will have the Port Orchard Foot Ferry and the ferry take-home buses operating from Port Orchard to the hotels in the area. On Bainbridge, again, the hotels that we're aware of all are served by fixed route buses during peak commutes and then BI Ride during off-peak. And then for the night service, after our fixed route service ends, we will have a on-demand service serving the hotels on the island. And then we'll also have the 390 between Polso and Bainbridge operating from 9 p.m. till midnight.
And those are all the existing fixed routes on Bainbridge Island?
Yes, those are the ones that operate during the commute period. As far as passenger experience, some of the things we're working on, we are working on standing up a web page on our site that will basically explain to visitors what transit service, additional transit service will be operating on game days only. We're working on signage to support wayfinding and digital displays so that folks can get, you know, the real-time information that we now have. I think this was brought up in a previous meeting, but the region is working on an open payment that will launch in the first quarter of this year. And we are also working on having some transit ambassadors here at the Bremerton Transportation Center to answer questions and assist visitors.
And I would like to add thanks to Kitsap County because they supported some of the wayfinding electronic signs. So that's helping us move that forward. So thank you.
Just a quick comment for Sanjay, where it says Paulsbo, that's actually Paulsbo Inn, to clarify it versus identifying the city of Paulsbo.
Okay.
The Paulsbo Inn.
Okay. Thank you. One of the things we also wanted to share is, you know, obviously people are going to be getting around using modes that are beyond transit, right? There's going to be a lot of private cars coming into downtown. There's a lot of rideshare companies coming in to downtown. And so there's a potential for bottlenecks and a potential need for more capacity for ride shares. So John, in discussion with John, we just wanted to show you kind of at a high level where there is some existing rideshare zone capacity, but John, did you want to take this one?
Yeah, and it's hard to point from here, but you can see essentially right across the street from the Hemlock Grove Cafe on Washington between First and Second, right in that area right there. One of the things that we're asking the city to do is to designate that for rideshare vehicles. So Uber, and that's a pickup point for them. Typically, Uber, you request a ride, and as part of that, you agree on where you're going to get picked up at. So if we could have those, I think there's 3 stalls over there now, if we could get that designated. And then on Second Street, if we could designate some of those stalls for drop off and pick up for the private vehicle, then they can get in and pick up, for those game days. So that'll help us. And then, of course, we have the ability for taxi cabs that have been approved to come up on the deck, and disabled can come up on the deck and pick up and drop off as well.
Just gonna check in real quick. Who are you working with at the city level?
We haven't started yet, but we wanted to make sure that the
Okay.
board was comfortable, and then we'll probably be calling you, Mayor.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is a wonderful snapshot of a future state. I mean, as we grow as a community, for opportunities, including entertainment, chance for cultural experiences, and are going to be a draw for us. And so costs will come with it. So I'm already looking at the enforcement costs in parking restricted areas, and there's a cost to that. So I'll be working on that with the city council and looking for any help also, but yeah, so it's all good. We have to have enforcement anyway, but yeah, it's exciting though. This is really exciting.
Mayor Patanzi?
You just touched on my question there, is in particular on the transit deck there. How are you going to enforce compliance of people not driving there that shouldn't be there because of the buses and things can't operate?
Currently, especially in the afternoon peak period, we actually hire an off-duty permanent police officer to help us with that issue when that's really the max. And we're talking with them about expanding their coverage to encompass that period of time. We're looking at we have a contracted security that essentially is here 24/7, and we may need to beef that up as well, just to make sure, like down on the ferry dock and that sort of thing. So we're still going through the details of the security side of this effort, but we've identified that we'll definitely need more than what we have today. So
Yeah.
All right, you continue to keep having questions.
That's the last slide, I believe.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if there are any other questions, happy to take them.
Commissioner?
It's a question for Commissioner Walters first, because she's the FIFA expert, one of them at the table. Is there an expectation, the games that you have on the calendar are the local games, so your plan is for getting people into Seattle. Is there an expectation for downtown Bremerton to be like alive when the US games are playing? Or is it focused only on our Seattle game?
Yeah, no, there's a greater focus, but I'll ask Mayor Wheeler. You might be more in touch with Downtown Bremerton Association, but I think the plan is to activate the area throughout the entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll roll out, what a street closure plan might look like. And that's coming soon. Still working out details. Want to make sure our business owners are aware in transit, and make sure key stakeholders are aware before they don't read about it in the newspaper. So
So, but is like the big party when's the big party? It can't possibly be for 6 weeks that you're gonna have people watching TV outside. It is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just game day will be the big parties. But there's we still have to look at the,
Yeah, but who's game day? I'm sorry, is every game?
no, well,
in the-
for the Seattle games,
Okay,
watch parties for the Seattle games.
okay.
And then the potential to, since we're gonna have access to other soccer games, continually rolling soccer games through and or soccer themed type on the Jumbotron. Somebody called it a Jumbotron. So yeah, I love it. So yeah, and that's still being worked out where we activate that street and then kind of filter in, well, what's a closure look like? Still working on the closure plan. You're right, 38 full days
Mhm.
of closure is a big deal, but I don't want to mislead anybody by saying that could happen, but we're still working through it.
And so through the local organizing committee, we're obligated to have the fan zone activated, like the parties, the local watch parties during those 6 matches. But there's things going on, like we anticipate visitors coming between the matches, probably more so. So I know we have the Bridge Blast for the Saturday between the 4th of July. So that's going to be a big festival on the waterfront. Father's Day weekend is also a huge festival. The beer festival is coming to Quincy Square. So
Juneteenth. We have
Juneteenth,
Juneteenth
yeah.
coming to
So
Quincy Square.
yeah, so yeah, there's big barbecue, and I think so beyond just the matches, it's going to be nutso for 6 weeks straight in downtown Bremerton.
It looks a little different in Port Orchard, but I'm working with our Merchants Association too. We want to draw some of these folks over between the games to Port Orchard and spend some dollars over there. We got the ferry connection. We have festivals and events already in the summertime on our waterfront. It's amplifying those events and making sure that people know that we're over there.
And I think it's like exactly what you're saying is amplifying the events that all of our communities are having. So I know Bainbridge Island is looking at that as well, City of Paulsbo, right? So we're trying not to create something new around this, except really amplify what we already have going on and letting everybody know, anticipate more people.
I guess my question was really about, like, linked to the Kitsap Transit expansion. Is there a belief, do we need to have these routes for when the US is playing to get people not to Seattle? So not the marine part of it, but to get people to Bremerton. Sort of like if you picture the Blackberry Festival, every time there's a US game, do we
Yeah.
want people to be shuttled into town?
That's a great question.
I think that's a great question, and I think we'd have to look at where the heck they're playing. I mean, you're not gonna watch it at 2 AM, so it's gotta be a game that's gonna be at a time that's gonna be in our reasonable time zone, watching.
Yeah, that brings up a really interesting question. Several years ago, I was down in Portland when they had the final of the World Cup between Argentina and Germany. So we're talking, I don't know, a good 12 years ago, and it wasn't being held in the United States or in North America, and that place was packed with the Jumbotron. And this was just it was a Sunday, and it was jammed. So I think you bring up a very valid point about what are we going to do with the US, but we don't know what the schedule is, especially after they get out of the round of 48. So that's going to be an interesting question. It might be one where we have to be a little bit flexible in our planning.
That's a really good point. I've made a note of it because I know, we do know that the men's US team will be playing on Juneteenth holiday. That's the only one we know is guaranteed where the men's US team may be playing.
I guess just my 2 comments to that would be, one, when we were developing the budget last year, I do remember that the Downtown Bremerton Association, and we were in the meetings together. At that time, they were saying that they didn't have the funding to operate the fan zone for the 38 days. They were only having the funding to really operate it for the 6 game days. So we mapped out our plan based on that. And then after the budget was passed, that's when we heard that they were planning to show all of the games, but all of the games was kind of abstract, like we didn't have specifics. And more importantly, we didn't have the budget to support 38 days, till midnight service. That's a discussion that, John and the board would need to have if you all wanted that beyond what we have here. And certainly Michael would have to talk with you about the number of operators he has, because we are going to be recruiting for operators just to staff the 6 game days, because we need more operators to support that.
And I think that's the biggest challenge. In all of our discussions today, we were trying to figure out what can we do? We're gonna be over budget. I can tell you that right now in Heritage, because we just don't have the budget to do much more. It's helpful that the county, for example, came forward with some of the funding for those screens, even though all of the screens we had envisioned to be right around 150,000. We got 314, if I remember correctly, from the state that's been allocated to Kitsap Transit for the total impact, which that is, that's not going to cover the ferry additional hours, let alone additional bus service that we're going to be providing. So, I don't want to throw cold water on it. This is a one-time in a lifetime event that's going to come to Kitsap County. But on the other hand, we looked at, for example, how many rooms are available in the hotels do we have in Kitsap County as kind of an indicator. And what's their current occupancy rate, so we can try to figure out how many extra rooms are going to be available. So that's a lot of what's going into it. We're also planning on, we're going to have folks on the deck, shall we say, that during those events that can make those last minute calls and we're going to have a spare bus sitting just in case we have an overload on one of the routes, that we can respond rapidly to deal with it at that particular time. So it's stretching us pretty thin for what we're doing now, but your transit system, as I always say.
Is it
Okay, I didn't catch who's first.
up? I think that as we move forward here, we're within 6 months window. So essentially 2 quarters, and we look forward 2 quarters and we look at hotel occupancies, what those reservations are looking like, what our rental car reservations are looking at, and what our VVRO, where we can pull that data from, that will really give us a good forecast, I think, of where we need to be at. I love the flexibility of having something on standby, because I think the worst thing, being a world traveler, sitting there waiting for a train, they weren't running. It is discouraging, but I think right now, I think we're moving forward. If we have that forecast out there, that will really help us keep the details in play.
Yeah, I wasn't advocating for more service outside of this. I was just saying that we're probably going to see more people down at the fan zone when those games are continuing. So I think this level of service that we have right now is good. I'm just saying sometimes we may see ridership a little bit higher than what we anticipate. That's the point I was making, especially with the USA going, if they move further on.
Right, Mayor?
Yeah,
Then-
I know we have to move. Oh,
Go ahead.
yeah. And just because we are showing the game every day and potentially, blocking off the street doesn't mean it'll be an organized event, but really activates the city, where we need more resources are alcoholic beer gardens, food trucks, and music that's amplified. So those 3 things kind of set up something a little bit more, oversight from the city, more resources. And so there's a possibility we're developing a new permitting strategy where exemptions can be allowed from a normal process. So if those 3 things I just mentioned, if you just want to close the street and show games matches on the screen, that may be exempt. And so still working through it. There are going to be some great lessons learned from this, some great data to collect. And there's a lot going on. So the transit service, you're spot on. You've covered it. The organized events where there's going to be activities for people, mingle, eat, maybe listen to music, all of that stuff, beer gardens, that's that's where the big crowds will probably come.
And I think everyone's going to have to be nimble, especially with the, let's hope, Team USA advances. That's when I think a lot of people will be interested, and assuming that it's at a time that people can watch. That'd be a nice problem for Team USA to have, and for our community as well. I mean, I think that's when the people would really be interested in watching.
So I did have one more question. So are we also going to be doing, you had mentioned at one point doing like iPads or at hotels so they could do the on-demand for access buses? Is that still something you're considering?
Probably not, mainly because our routes, and we're going to be beefing up our routes, already go by. So it's a matter of just go out to the bus stop and catch the bus.
And I look forward to working with Sanjay on communicating that out to the hotels and how we can best market that for everyone. I know we're a part of that same team. And then also, I think we're also working on a way that we can help recruit the transit ambassadors. And so maybe that's a way that the board can also become involved a little bit, because we want to meet people, not only at the Bremerton Ferry Terminal, but also Kingston, Southport as well. So we'll have to see how we can help you with getting some of those volunteers.
Well, I very much appreciate that. And there's a couple comments that I wanted to add, and I agree with Commissioner Root. We're getting down to the wire, and that's why I wanted to show, because we need to start communicating to our own folks what to expect and what to rely on. And as Commissioner Moriwaki pointed out, and Commissioner Wheeler, that the timing of these games are going to be intermingled, if you will, with our regular riders. So we need to make sure that folks are aware of what to expect, and if there's an opportunity for alternatives for them, they should start considering it now, better now than later. The ambassadors is an issue that we certainly identify that we need folks on the transit deck at the very least, as well as probably at the ferry arrival point, so that we can help direct people to which bus or where the buses are, that sort of thing. So we're probably going to start working with our own staff to see how many administrative folks are willing to, kind of like when the fair happens, we reach out to folks and say how many want to attend the booth for a few hours. So we're going to be doing that with our own staff, because they probably are a little closer to the subject than somebody off the street, but we're certainly welcome to accept anyone's help in this regard. And then the other thing that we are still talking about internally is whether or not we should encourage our own staff, especially here at this facility, to, if possible, telework during those, because we do have parking downstairs. That parking, I think, is going to be a premium around the city. So those are things, if nothing else, it just takes another vehicle out of the coming and going. So those are things that we're talking about in addition to what we've been presenting here today. So
Right.
Thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for the input.
I could talk to you. So we need to move on. But thank you so much. Thank you for this presentation, Sanjay. We look forward to having a copy of it as well. All right, now on to discussion item, return grant funds for Port Orchard Transit Center.
Yes, this is an item, and Stephanie, please join. This is an item we had solicited and received a grant to plan for the modernization, if you will, of the Port Orchard Transit Center down where our buses connect with our ferries in downtown Port Orchard. And we had hired a consultant. We did a couple renditions of, essentially as part of the downtown redevelopment, when the community center is built and the library moves out of the building that they're in now, possibly buying that building from the city and using that footprint to be able to build a proper transit center. Well, it's become, to be perfectly honest, it's become a political hot potato. And it is such that I don't think we have enough time to deal with it. So we're reaching the end of the time limit to use those funds. And what we're suggesting is that we're going to just basically turn those dollars back to the feds. And we'll just have to wait until a future point when things look better, I guess you could say, for the development of a transit center downtown Port Orchard. So I just wanted to bring it back and share that we do have a time limit on that grant, and that Stephanie, maybe you could share the specifics on.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, let me give you some numbers, just so you know how much dollars we're talking about. So currently, we've expended 219,000 out of an original $750,000 grant. With our match on that grant, we were intending on spending $937,000. So with the expended funds, what's left on the grant, it would be returning $530,777 to the Federal Transit Administration. I do think this is the right move for this project because we are at the right stopping point where the $219,000 that we've already spent have given us a completed planning document. So I do not have anything that I would have to pay back to the Federal Transit Administration at this point because I have a completed document. If I were to move any further, I would have to either complete the rest of planning or I'd have to end up paying back dollars. So this is the place to stop if we're going to stop.
Mayor Butansu?
Just some more backwards. This is really unfortunate because I feel that an improved transit center downtown Port Orchard is very important to our redevelopment efforts, but I'm the mayor and I'm not a policymaker. And the majority of my city council currently does not see this. So 2.5 years ago or so, you guys did some renderings. The transit did when they got these money, gave a presentation to the city council. It wasn't, they didn't like it as designed, and it became a campaign issue and political issue during an election. The folks that were against it got elected, and I've been making phone calls all morning trying to get my hard nose to reconsider, and look at alternatives, and there's no way that that's going to happen. Unfortunately, that site, because its proximity to the water, the only thing that can be built there is water dependent uses. So something supporting the marina or something supporting our ferry operations. Our council wants this to be located somewhere else. Well, we're not going to move the ferry dock. And to be ADA compliant in that service, it's got to be right where it's at. And there is no appetite at all to sell the library that in 3 years from now, a year from now, we're going to go to construction on the community center. And if to say 1.5 to 2 years, so 2 years, 3 years from now, that building will be vacant and we're going to look to do something. This was a great planning effort. I wish the decision was different. It isn't. And I hate to do it. I've got to support returning this money.
Madam Chair. Forgive my ignorance, a little over a year here looking at grants and whatnot. Is there any flexibility with any of that with stops, redoing our covered and sheltered stops?
Unfortunately, with these dollars, no, these were a specific competitive grant, so these are not formulary dollars. If they were formulary dollars, I'd be able to reprogram them into something else. But because these were competed for on the merits of this project, I unfortunately have to return it.
Thank you.
Did you still want to make a comment?
Sometimes you don't get what you want. And one of the things I have learned about grants is that often when you return them, you are looked upon more favorably for the next round of granting. So may that be the case
No, completely the other way around on federal grants.
on federal grants? Okay, I just know from state because, all right, well, I'm very sorry to hear it and thank you for having a diverse city council, Mayor.
All right, and I don't think there's any action for us to take, just,
There's no action. We'll go ahead and move forward with returning the dollars to have the board aware of it before we do. So
all right, thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Madam Chair,
Oh, sorry.
is there a communications strategy that you guys are working on related to saying we're giving the money back, we're not going forward with the transit center?
Oh, you're like Mike.
No,
What would be your responsibility? Would be Kitsap Transit.
I think it's just letting the world know that we're going to turn it back, but I don't think it's worth, doing anything more than that. I would defer to Mayor Batanzu for guidance on that.
I think, I don't think that would be, it is putting salt in the wound, I think, because it's definitely a split decision. And I think we're going someday, probably not in my career, we're going to do exactly what these plans are. And the timing is right because of what we're doing. There isn't the will right now with the individuals that are in office. So I think we'll be revisiting this someday.
I guess I'm not trying to push it, although I sort of am in terms of just transparency. If this was a big issue during local city council elections, then the public should know that it's not going forward. It's while we're all engaged in growth management planning, it's personally disappointing because we're trying to have Port Orchard become a more vibrant downtown. And this is one key to it. But having said that, the people should know what's going on with the plan, which is that it's not happening.
If that's the will of the board, then it's up to you guys.
All right.
Okay, well,
Oh, well, one
Well,
last
this,
comment.
okay, thank you. In this case, I would have it come from Kitsap Transit, not the mayor. I think right now at this point in time, well, the mayor was nice enough to say salt on the wound. I would say gas on the fire. And it's certainly not my intention. I think we should move forward with this. But at this point in time, I would, if anything should come out, it should come out from Kitsap Transit.
Thank you.
if
Thank
it's the
you.
board's desire, we can put something out so that the community is aware of it. I certainly respect your position.
What do you think?
If I,
mean, I think it probably just add to the vitriol and salt in the wound. I don't even know what when you're gonna when there's communication like this and a notification, I think we would owe it to the public if we wanted to do this, the why. And I think the why would be varied. There's various political reasons, community input, campaigns, or whatever that part of it was. I think right now, I would vote, we don't need to put out a notice like that without asking, because I don't want to get into the why. I think it's too complex.
Yeah, I don't want to get in between, get Kitsap Transit into discussion. It's just, we're following the guidance that we've received. And I can almost assure you that the newspapers review these meetings, the recordings of these meetings, and if they're going to do something, we'll get a call, I'm sure.
well, and if I may, one nice thing is by kind of not saying anything, we're at a stopping point where we have a completed plan, which then eventually, when the city council decides to move forward with this, we can pick those plans up and continue to move forward with those in the future. If we really iterate, this is getting canceled, that is a different story where instead of we're putting this on pause until we are all ready to move forward to the next step. So I think, to me, that seems like the right space.
Okay.
Commissioner, or Chair, is there a resolution that actually is, so there's,
Yeah.
if we come back a year from now and somebody asks a question, it's going to be head nods and,
This was presented at a work study,
okay,
so there wasn't any formal action. It just wasn't well received. Okay, and it was 6 months. I'm guessing time. It was 2.5 years. So 6 months ahead of the election. That anyway, it became a campaign issue, and so it really. Matter of fact, I stepped out a couple of times to talk to folks to say, hey, can you reconsider this at all and have more dialogue about it? And I was told, not at this time. Okay, so as our downtown does start to redevelop, I think we'll have to talk about this, or we should be talking about this. And, elections happen every 2 years.
Real quick, because we need to move on. We have to get through the rest of the agenda.
So there hasn't been a vote? This is just inference from 6 months ago? And from private phone calls this morning?
I will tell you that, what was it, November? We still had this project on our website, and at good of the order of our council, I was taken to task because that was on Transit's website. And why is it there? Because this council's not in support of that. So I don't need a vote. I can count to 4.
I think we all have that ability, and yet I have often noticed that boards and councils say different things when there is a formal vote before them than they might say in a study session, or especially during a heated good of the order. It's
Right, well, we're going to move on from this. I think it's Mayor Patan's call at the moment, and we're pausing this project. So thank you for the robust discussion, and it's unfortunate. All right, so let's move on to executive director items.
I just have a few very quickly. One, I just wanted to share with the board that we had what I would consider a scrivener's error in a resolution that you approved 2605 to purchase some vans, and in the body of the resolution, it indicated that we were using the state of Washington's list to purchase. In reality, we're using the state of Arizona's procurement contract, which actually is a little bit better price in the state of Washington. So I just wanted to make sure that the board was aware of the mislabeling, if you will. We indicated state of Washington contract, and it's the state of Arizona. So the other thing I wanted to do, it's my pleasure to introduce our new Marine Services Director, Nick Zylstra, who's joining the team. And Nick, if you want to take just a couple minutes, and literally a couple of minutes, and hit the green button.
Welcome.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Nicholas Ilstra. I go by Nick, so it's easier, hopefully. Coming from Argosy Cruises in Seattle, and this is my second week, so I'm just really getting my feet under me. Very excited to be here. Kitsap's got a wonderful reputation, and happy to be a part of the team. So.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate your comments saying you're getting your feet under you, because if you said you got your feet wet, that means the boat's sinking.
Right, yes.
so many puns.
Yeah, sea legs are still there.
Great, thank you, welcome.
The other two things that I wanted to mention, and I wanted to get kind of the board's reaction, and I appreciate that this is just really off the cuff, but if any of you have been following the success of the Seahawks, I have been getting pressured occasionally about running a special ferry route on Sunday for the Seahawks event. And I will preface this with, it's not in the budget. So what I would suggest, if the board would consider something like that, that we establish a special fare, and we would ask people to buy their tickets in advance, if you will. We need to figure out what it would cost us to operate. I'm guessing that a ticket would be in the 75 to maybe as much as $100 range. What I've been told in comparison to, and this is off the cuff, so don't hold me to those numbers. I just want to make sure that we would cover the cost. And what I'm being told, I have a niece whose husband is an avid Seahawks fan and has season tickets. He would say that parking in downtown Seattle to go to the game is going to be $100 anyway. So, so I just wanted to throw it out. If the board would even entertain something like that, we don't have a lot of time to put it together and get the word out since they're playing next Sunday. Well, at the very least, I would hope that we don't spend any money. It's going to be a break even is what the goal would be. So, and I'm not even sure we have the crews to be able to do it, but I just want, I'm sure that the crews, some crews would be excited to be able to do that. And who knows, we might go buy 3 jerseys for the crew.
Can't you find crews from among the enthusiastic Seahawks fans?
Sorry, Doran, please go ahead. No, to your point, I think, and I have to say that I've reached out to you and on behalf of a few Seahawks fans that said they're willing to pay, $75, $80, $100, because 120 to 150 is parking in Seattle, and there's usually no parking. So they were more than willing to park here and go over, and
Is that round trip?
that's a good question.
No, it would be round trip because I would want to make sure we get enough money up front to pay for the run.
Yeah. And that was put out, and a couple people reached out and said, we'll absolutely buy pre-tickets.
Well,
It was popular.
again, we don't have much time to do something like that, but if the board is comfortable, we'll take a look at it internally and see if we can get everything put in place and get the word out adequately to get coverage of. We're always in that fear that we're going to put it out and we'll get 30 people that'll go, and that's not going to cover the cost. So
I know.
we'll have to wait and see. And then the last thing, I just wanted, if the board is interested, an invitation. We now have possession of the additional space up here on the 3rd floor, just down the hall a bit. And if you would like to go take a look at it, we can certainly open it up. And I think Kitsap Transit was fairly compensated for the loss of the 6 months of revenue in letting parametrics out of their lease early. And you can go see for yourself. They left the furniture and a lot of stuff there that I think it's pretty much move-in ready for our staff, other than technology, getting the network set up and phones set up. But if you want to take a look at it, we can easily walk across the
Oh,
hall.
great. Thank you.
And that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. Ooh, we're hitting close to time here. So public comment. Is anyone here for public comment? All right. Whew. All right. I can move to for the good of the order. Transit board members, do you have anything? Mr. Rolfes?
I do, because you were moving us along on the last one, so I just wanted to add, if, in terms of transparency or whatever, I support whatever however Port Angeles, however Port Orchard wants to handle this. But maybe our meeting minutes could reflect the decision that was made on the Port Orchard Transit Center with Stephanie's comments built in about how we have a complete design for if Port Orchard wants to take this back up. So it's not a total loss kind of a summary.
Thank you. Yeah. Right. Anyone else? All right. Whew, we made it just in time, 10 o'clock. We adjourned. Thank you. Whew. I was worried there. I didn't get it.